Will Shackel is a 17-year-old Queensland boy who scored the interview with Emmanuel Macron and is in Dubai for the COP28. He's also the president of Nuclear for Australia. So, Will, how did you manage to get such a scoop with the French president?
Well, I saw the French president, Emmanuel Macron, walking by and I had my camera ready. So I ran up to him with my phone. And given that he's the leader of France, one of the greatest countries which has nuclear energy in the world, it's 70% powered by nuclear energy, I thought, who better to interview than Emmanuel Macron? So he knew I was Australian. He probably saw my T-shirt here, which has identifies me as a nuclear advocate. And he called on the Australian government in that moment to lift the ban, which is, I think, a huge, huge piece of news. And I hope it has a difference in our debate here in Australia.
Great scoop, Will, and I love your passion, but I've got to say there's not a lot of 17-year-olds who even have an opinion about nuclear energy, let alone get to go to COP on the other side of the world. Explain briefly for us why you're so passionate about it.
Well, Australia is experiencing a climate and energy crisis, and my general belief is that we must have all options on the table. We're actually not on track to reach our emissions targets, and that was revealed by the government a few days ago. So my thing is we shouldn't just be doubling down on our current approach. We should be looking to other solutions. And when you see nuclear energy, one of the cleanest and most reliable forms of power, I don't know why we wouldn't consider it. Australia is the only member of the G20 with a ban on nuclear energy. And our refusal to consider the role of nuclear energy in plans to decarbonise here in Australia, I think is out of step with the rest of the world. And at very least, we should lift the ban so we can at least consider it.
Most other 17-year-olds are at schoolies, but you're at COP. How did you actually manage to get there? I mean, how did you pay for your airfares and your accommodation? It mustn't be cheap.
No, it's not cheap. So I basically have been invited by Nuclear for Climate, which is a group which brings together advocates from around the world. In terms of my funding, so people don't get concerned. It's not from a political party. It's not from an industry organisation. It's from a very generous Australian with no political connections. I'm protecting his privacy.
You better clear that up, Will. I didn't pay for it, mate.
Will, I'm interested in your observation saying that you think Australia's out of step with much of the rest of the world. But the 20 countries that signed this pledge at COP to engage in more nuclear as part of the pathway to net zero, many of them already have nuclear industries, and we all know it's incredibly expensive to set up nuclear from scratch. It would be difficult to do. And Australia obviously has a natural advantage with many of the renewable sources. Are you certain that this is actually in Australia's interest to go down that path?
I am, and I would say that, first of all, it's a great thing that Australia has renewable investment. I think it is fantastic that we have that renewable investment in Australia. My thing is, I think nuclear complements renewables, and that's really important. We should be able to consider nuclear energy as part of our energy mix. We have the largest uranium reserves in the world. We have some of the best nuclear expertise from around the world. We have a research reactor 30 kilometres from the Sydney CBD, which is pretty much incident-free. Even if nuclear energy is the most expensive form of energy and takes too long to build, which I do not believe, we should still be able to consider it. If we want to be serious about climate action, then we must get serious about nuclear energy and start considering it.
I don't know who you're powered by, but you are very passionate. So which president are you going after next?
Well, I've actually been, I've gone to a few world leaders. There's Bill Gates and stuff here. I'm keeping the corner of my eye because there's all of these world leaders walking past as we speak. But I'll have to look out. I had a talk to John Kerry, the US climate envoy, and he's a great supporter of nuclear energy. I saw Keir Starmer, the opposition leader of the UK. Whilst he didn't respond, his staff came up to us and said that he's a great supporter of nuclear energy as well. So what's really obvious to me is when you look at the world leaders and the people here at COP28 from all the countries around the world, they're all going nuclear. They get it. It's time Australia started considering it.
Move over, Greta Thunberg.
Yeah. Will, thanks for your time.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.